Wink News begins with breaking news.
Tuesday, February 5th, I'm Teresa O'Shea, and we start with breaking news. Right now, the Midpoint Bridge is closed westbound after a serious motorcycle crash on the Fort Myers side of the bridge. It happened just before midnight. Right now, Wink News reporter Nicole Papageorge is live at 4:30 with the breaking details. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning, Therese. This impact was so severe that parts of the motorcycle actually fell over the flyover here. You can see police officers trying to look at pieces of this motorcycle as we speak. And right now, both sides of the Midpoint Bridge are closed so they can investigate. We can tell you that this motorcyclist struck a car while the driver was traveling westbound at the Midpoint Bridge. Now, we're going to be out here monitoring the scene for you, and we'll bring you any of the latest details and when the bridge opens. We are just hearing, that the motorcyclist in this accident has passed away. Just hearing that from my producer in my ear right now, but we can tell you, unfortunately, certainly a horrible accident, as you can see, with all of this motorcycle coming over here. And of course, we'll have more on this throughout the morning. We are live here in Fort Myers. Nicole Papageorge, Wink News this morning.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Of course, we'll be checking out the scene of that crash, and we'll be live out there until the bridge is reopened. We'll work to get you updates on that victim, which Nicole just told you we have confirmed that that victim has died. Now let's check in with meteorologist Joey Sovine with your Wednesday forecast with your weather on the Wednesday. Good morning, Joey.
Afternoon. I'll have details on that coming up in less than 10 minutes, Therese.
Joey, thank you. Right now, people across the Midwest and Northeast are dealing with yet another round of that major winter storm, the second one since Monday. Heavy snow and ice is expected to fall today from the Midwest through New England. On Tuesday, the storm dumped almost a foot of snow from Kansas through the Ohio Valley. At least 12 states have reported needing more salt after a series of storms ate away most of their supplies. Forecasters say another storm could be shaping up for the weekend. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says he's just tired of it right now.
We've had this ridiculous run of storms the last few weeks. It'd be nice if this would be the end of them.
And right now at Southwest Florida International Airport, we're checking the big board there live. There are 12 arriving flights canceled because of this winter weather in the Northeast. Also, 5 departing flights have been canceled so far. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the flights coming in and out of RSW. And if you are flying out or expecting to have anyone fly into town today, be sure to check with your airline to make sure it's coming in on time. And we have some new information just into the Wink newsroom. We've learned 4 people have been arrested in connection with the death of actor Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's 3 men and 1 woman. A raid of Manhattan apartment building led to these arrests and the recovery of 350 bags or envelopes, which may be used to contain heroin. All 4 are being charged with possession of narcotics and are being questioned for the sale of heroin. Meanwhile, the heroin that was found in the apartment of Hoffman is being tested negative for the powerful additive phenetanyl that's been linked to 22 suspected overdose deaths in western Pennsylvania. Many actors in Hollywood are speaking out right now, giving words of praise for their former friend and thespian.
He was a really special human being, and he was one of the best actors to ever live.
It's so hard. There's no way to explain it. There's no way to understand it.
Hoffman was an Oscar winner and a 3-time Tony Award nominee. Today, the Broadway community will pay tribute to him by dimming its lights at 7:45 for 1 minute. Right now, a Florida crime lab chemist accused of tampering with evidence is out on bond following his arrest on Tuesday. And today, the FDLE agents are continuing their investigation to find out how many cases could be overturned by his actions. 32-year-old Joseph Graves was released from Escambia County Jail on $290,000 bond late Tuesday night. He's now charged with grand theft of a controlled substance and fabricating physical evidence. The FDLE believes Graves swapped original drug evidence with over-the-counter medication in 2,600 cases. An FDLE spokesman says now they will start to see what protocols can change, preventing another breach.
Once we know exactly what happened, the next part, of course, is looking at all of our protocols to see what we can do to ensure something like this doesn't happen again.
The FDLE will now have to physically review each of the 2,600 cases that they have believe Graves has tampered with. If convicted on all new charges, a local defense attorney says he could spend more than 25 years in prison. And new details in the 2012 robbery at Penn Street Bowling. Two men, Sidney Gartrell and Christopher Davis, were just convicted in this case. Fort Myers police say Gartrell and Davis are two of the three men that walked into the bowling alley, grabbed cash bags, fired off a single shot, and then ran off. Fortunately, no one was hurt in this incident. Gartrell and Davis are still in the Lee County Jail and are facing multiple aggravated assault charges. New this morning, a report from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office is making an ominous prediction. It says millions of Americans will either quit their job or cut back their hours because of the Affordable Care Act. Republicans are pointing to the report as evidence the president's health care law is hurting the economy. But the White House says people can now have the option to retire earlier or spend more time at home with their kids because they no longer have to worry about their health insurance. Well, President Obama is expected to sign a farm bill into law on Friday. Tuesday, the Senate passed the $100 billion a year measure aimed at helping the nation's farmers. The bill provides relief to farmers who are hit with unpredictable weather or market conditions. The legislation sets 5 years of eating and farming policy in the United States. The Farm Bill requires details be included on the packaging of all beef, chicken, and pork sold in the U.S. Both sides of the aisle say the compromise is a relief.
This is a good compromise. The farmers and ranchers in this country produce the highest quality, lowest cost food supply in the world, in the history of the world. That benefits every single American.
There are literally hundreds of thousands of producers in America today who say, finally.
It also provides financing for the food stamp program. The overall cost of that program will be cut by $500 million a year, or around 1%. Well, today is a day the people of Seattle haven't had since 1979. They're celebrating a championship. And today the Seattle Seahawks will party alongside the 12th man as they celebrate their victory over the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 48. Seattle will hold a victory parade for the champions today. Police expect about 500,000 people to battle the frigid temperatures, and it could be the city's largest public event in history. The last time the city saw a celebration this big was the 1979 Seattle Supersonics win in the NBA championship. Your week news time is 4:38. Coming up right after the break, Joey Zovine joins us with your most accurate forecast and your weather on the ones, and we'll be back out live with Nicole Papageorge at the scene of that motorcycle crash on the Midpoint Bridge. We'll update you on the closures and all the details coming up in just a bit. And we're continuing to follow breaking news out of Fort Myers this morning. Week News has just learned that a motorcyclist died in a late-night crash on the Midpoint Memorial Bridge. Nicole Papageorge is live at the foot of the bridge in Fort Myers with the late-breaking details. Nicole?
Well, we can tell you that Colonial is now back open. It had been closed since about midnight last night when this accident happened. Where we're standing, though, is on the exit from Colonial going on to McGregor Boulevard. So if you take a look behind me, you can see Fort Myers police are still here. And the reason this area is still closed is because there's a lot of debris from earlier on from this accident. Actually, I can see pieces of clothing, even parts of the motorcycle have really just fallen over from the overpass onto this area. So right now they're investigating this part of the accident scene. And we can tell you, unfortunately, the motorcyclist, as you said, did die in this accident, but we're going to be following this throughout the day. We're hearing speed may have been a factor. We're also hearing this morning that police have not ID'd this person for us yet, but any new information that we get, we'll bring it to you. We are live here in Fort Myers. Nicole Papageorge, Wink News this morning.
All right, thank you, Nicole. And we have some more breaking news coming out of North Fort Myers right now. A fire on Laurel Drive and North Tamiami Trail has turned deadly. We have Wink News reporter Vanessa Rufus heading out to the scene right now. She'll have live updates for you coming in once she arrives on that scene. And for now, let's check in with Joey with a check of your weather.
Thanks, Therese. Let's get a check outside this morning and what we're looking at a little bit Sunday and Monday. Therese.
Thank you, Joey. A bond hearing scheduled today for the man accused of opening fire and killing a man in a movie theater in Tampa. The judge could also rule whether video showing the altercation and shooting can be made public. Last month, 71-year-old Curtis Reeves allegedly shot and killed 43-year-old Chad Olson because he wouldn't stop text messaging during a movie. An external hard drive containing hours of surveillance video was physically handed over to defense attorneys on Tuesday during a hearing regarding the video evidence showing the January shooting. Right now, Reeves is being held without bail, charged with second-degree murder. Also today, Kevin Kaczynski will have a detention hearing in federal court. He's the Fort Myers man accused of possessing more than 7,000 images of child porn. His wife turned him in after finding the USB drive with several inappropriate pictures. Kaczynski was most recently detained for violating an injunction. He is not allowed near his wife and 2 children. He's expected in court around 1:30 this afternoon. Trust Wink News for updates as they come in. Today, the Obama administration is expecting to launch a program to help rural communities deal with climate change. The announcement will come from Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack. 7 regional climate hubs will be created to help coordinate and distribute information about dealing with the effects of climate change. The hubs will assess local climate risks such as drought and wildfire, then develop plans for dealing with them, such as improved irrigation techniques. The White House says the hubs will be in Oregon, Iowa, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Colorado, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. And also in Washington today, Republicans are urging President Obama to use his executive power to get the Keystone XL pipeline project rolling. This comes on the heels of a State Department report last week showing the project would not have a major impact on carbon emissions. And Republicans say that's enough to break ground.
Listen. We can build it. There's nothing complex about the Keystone Pipeline. It's time to build it.
This is not just any pipeline. This is a pipeline that will connect 2 of the strongest allies in the world. They are an essential economic ally to the United States, and the partnership between Canada, the United States, and Mexico is.
The President's chief of staff says the White House wants other federal agencies, including the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Energy, to weigh in on Keystone before giving the project the green light. Well, could this be the ride of the year? This new video shows a surfer from the UK named Andrew Cotton facing an extremely tall wave in Portugal on Sunday. Extremely tall might be underdoing it a bit. The wave was generated by a nearby storm, and can't believe that any person could handle that. No, I couldn't. You're watching Southwest Florida's news leader, Wink News. This morning coming up right after the break, we'll check in on some of your top stories in the weather. Following 2 major stories breaking out of Fort Myers this morning, Wink News has just learned that a motorcyclist died in a late-night crash on the Midpoint Memorial Bridge. It happened just before midnight, and right now the westbound lanes are back open on the Midpoint Bridge, so you can get through that bridge just fine. There is some road closures at the foot of the bridge in Fort Myers right now. We'll have Wink News reporter Nicole Papageorge out live at 5 with more on this breaking story. And we have some more breaking news out of North Fort Myers this morning. A fire on Laurel Drive in North Tamiami Trail has turned deadly. We have Wink News reporter Vanessa Rufus heading to that scene. She'll bring you live updates in our 5 o'clock hour once she arrives.
Coming up in 10 minutes. Trace?
Joey, thank you. Coming up today on CBS This Morning, while one half of the country has had several winter storms, bone-dry conditions continue in the West. Bill Whitaker has new information on how California is dealing with severe drought. Plus, will Obamacare cause 2 million Americans to pass up full-time jobs? Nancy Cordes separates fact from fiction. And only on CBS This Morning, a big announcement from one of the nation's largest pharmacies. The company's CEO is live in Studio 57. All that and more today at 7 right here on Wink. Well, new this morning, we're well into tax season, and in addition to getting your return prepared on time, there are also some tax-related scams you should be watching out for. Money expert Stacey Johnson explains.
The identity stolen, and then they use the mail to either receive fraudulently obtained credit cards or tax refunds. People find out that they're victims of tax fraud usually when they go to file their taxes and it gets rejected.
Every year, Postal Inspector Blanca Alvarez investigates crimes using the mail. That includes identity theft and tax fraud. Her advice to keep consumers safe?
Check their credit on a regular basis, at least once a year, and pick up their mail from their mailboxes soon after delivery to make sure that they're getting all of their mail.
For years now, identity theft has been right at the top of the IRS annual list of Dirty Dozen tax scams. Here are some other ones that get top honors. First, phishing. Crooks send a fake IRS email trying to get your info. Don't bite. The IRS doesn't send emails at all, much less ones asking for personal information. Then there's tax preparer fraud. Beware of accountants bearing gifts of big refunds if they're using inflated numbers or fake information to get them. Remember, you're the one signing the return and you're the one ultimately responsible. Also, false filing. Claiming deductions or credits you're not entitled to is fraud. It can land you in hot water or, in the extreme, even jail. Fudging retirement contributions and withdrawals is another common scam. Now, sometimes tax preparers are doing this. Sometimes you and I might be. But guess what? The IRS is looking for this stuff. Don't do it. Oh, and here's a good one. Every year you'll hear someone say income taxes are unconstitutional, so you don't have to pay them. Incorrect. Don't believe me? Ask an accountant.
You may not believe that it's constitutional, but that doesn't mean they won't come and take all your stuff.
Bottom line, protect yourself from fraud and resist the urge to engage in any yourself. Want to know how to legally lower those taxes? Just go to MoneyTalksNews.com and do a search for Tax Hacks 2014. For Money Talks News, I'm Stacey Johnson.
Well, tomorrow, late-night talk show host Jay Leno will take his final bow as host of The Tonight Show. Over the last 22 years, Leno has hosted a variety of guests from presidents and celebrities to musicians and athletes. But even the best comedian is bound to have some repeat jokes over the course of 2 decades. According to the Center for Media and Public Affairs at George Mason University, between May 25th, 1992 and January 24th of this year, Leno told 43,892 jokes. And the butt of 10% of those jokes was President Bill Clinton with 4,607 jokes. Next up was President George W. Bush with 3,239, and then Vice President Al Gore with 1,026. Well, that'll do it for us at 4:30. Once again, we're on top of 2 major breaking stories this morning. We'll have a live report on that deadly motorcycle accident at the Midpoint Bridge in Fort Myers and another on the deadly house fire on Laurel Drive in North Fort Myers. All the breaking details just minutes away on WIC News This Morning at 5. Stick around.